I love this time of year. What's going on, guys, and welcome to Halloween Horror Reviews 2024. Oh my freaking god, I'm so excited right now. For those who've been following me since damn near the beginning of my channel, you will all know how much I absolutely love horror, how much I love Halloween, and how much I just love spooky season, period. This time of year always makes me feel like such a little kid, and I'm telling you guys right now, I am so damn excited. I'm so happy to bring back Halloween Horror Reviews for another consecutive year because, man, planning these videos and doing these videos and editing them together brings me so much joy in words that I can't even describe. I've got 10 movie reviews planned, 2 game reviews planned, and maybe something pretty big cooked up for this year. I mean, I'm still kind of in the processes of it, but still nonetheless. Before I continue on today's video and my first review of Halloween Horror Reviews 2024, welcome to my channel, everybody. For those of you who are coming by my channel for the very first time, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you do not miss a future video, whether it's a future review, reaction, or the future installments of Halloween Horror Reviews 2024. And also join me on my journey to 10k subscribers and beyond, because believe me guys, when I say this, you're not going to want to miss a single video because I have a lot of cool shit coming your way. And for those of you who are coming back to my channel, welcome back. I am so happy to see your faces once again, and also once again, thank you so much for joining me on another journey of Halloween horror reviews. Something I want to do starting as of last year is that with every single Halloween horror reviews going forward is that for every year, I only want to concentrate on reviewing horror films I either really like, really appreciate, or films that I absolutely love, with the exception of the first review of every single year. Starting in 2020 or 2021, I have been reviewing the Resident Evil films. It's time to kick off Halloween Horror Reviews 2024 with my review of the 4th film of the Resident Evil film franchise, and that is Resident Evil Afterlife, written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. So Resident Evil Afterlife is the 4th installment of the Resident Evil film franchise. We once again follow Alice, who is once again portrayed by Mila Jovovich, who after the events of Resident Evil Extinction, Alice is on a quest, on a journey to find this place called Arcadia, another location that not only promises a safe haven, but once again is free from infection, and like with the last film, she runs into brand new characters from the franchise, specifically for the video games, most specifically Chris Redfield, amongst others. Alrighty guys, so let's get into Resident Evil Afterlife. Damien! Guys, I'm reaching here for what I liked about this movie. I will give a tiny bit of credit to them. A tiny bit for trying to recreate that fight scene in Resident Evil 5, and they try and recreate here once again for Resident Evil Afterlife. I will give them a tiny bit of credit for trying to recreate that scene. Nothing to do with this movie, but I will say this much. This movie did actually introduce me into the band A Perfect Circle, which is, by the way, darn good rock band, I gotta say.
Happy purge, you old fuck!
Oh my god. At the start of Halloween Horror Reviews, I swear to god, guys, it's only getting worse with Resident Evil in the movies. I mean, the games, I absolutely love. The movies, however, it's only getting worse. Before I continue on to all the things that I heavily dislike about Resident Evil Afterlife, I might as well give you a story time about how I first saw Resident Evil Afterlife. Afterlife, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this, and you guys will be shocked when I say this, Afterlife does hold a sentimental value to me for one reason, as this. Resident Evil Afterlife, believe it or not, guys, was the first film of the franchise that I actually saw in theaters. Does that make this movie anywhere good? Or even decent, or even just okay for that matter? No. Resident Evil Afterlife somehow is a worse film than Extinction. I don't know how that was possible. There is one character in this movie, a character named Luther. I can't remember the guy's name who plays, but I'll put his name right here. He's the only guy that I feel like is trying to bring something out of the generic script of this movie, but otherwise, the performances in this movie are straight up garbage. Mila Jovovich as Alice once again, it feels like she's here for the paycheck. Ali Larter as Claire Redfield. Once again, I like Ali Larter, but not even a match for Claire Redfield. The dude who plays Wesker, I think his name is Sean Roberts. This guy, I talk with my jaw wired shut. Why am I doing this, Paul W.S. Anderson? Okay, I may have exaggerated there just a smidge, but it's pretty darn close to a performance. Wentworth Miller as Chris Redfield, who starts off in this movie, no joke, in a prison where there may have been a fellow just a little poke knowing that, well, Wentworth Miller was in a show called, well, Prison Break. There's another character in this movie that was a movie producer. This guy could have been overacting even more. So, I mean, there are a couple of sequences where his acting, I was just going like, okay, kiddo, just set this one out, go to the bench, please. You're done, man. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is Paul W.S. Anderson's directing. Paul W.S. Anderson directed this movie. He made, at least in my personal opinion, the most generic and the most dull film of the Resident Evil film franchise. By the way, his directing work only gets worse from here. I mean, Retribution is garbage, and for those who've been following me since 2017, you will all know how much I absolutely despise, and I mean how much I despise, the final chapter. Paul W.S. Anderson's directing here is just so brain dead and so lifeless that there are so many sequences that could be exciting, but because everything, or not everything, but a good majority of this movie is in slow-mo, to which I'll get into later on, nothing, and I mean nothing, is exciting about this movie. Nothing is. The story of this movie is paper thin. There is not a single point in this movie where it feels like a character arc is progressing, or let alone something is evolving in the film franchise. The storytelling in Resident Evil Afterlife is about as brain dead as the zombies in these movies. This movie is full of not only some truly terrible CG, some truly terrible fight choreography, but also truly terrible and ridiculous amounts of slow-mo. Before I continue on to this next part, spoilers in case if you guys have not seen Afterlife, but really guys, do not waste any of your time with this movie. Within the first, 10 to 15 minutes, Wesker injects Alice with the serum to completely get rid of the powers that Alice has, and she even says, "Thank you for making me human." Explain to me how in the shitting hell does Alice survive? After this plane crash, after this helicopter crash, how does Alice walk away just with a couple of them, some scratches and some burn marks? The physics in this scene in particular are such BS, like that it is laughably bad. Alice is on the rooftop, clearing out all the zombies as much as she can. She runs away, throws that pack of bombs, jumping off. Please explain to me how, with that much velocity and that height, with that speed, and when she rolls, how does Alice survive all of that? By the way, in the same scene where all the key characters are in this elevator that has no power, Alice throws a freaking bomb on top of it. It detonates. The characters are just flying down hundreds of feet, and they hit water within this elevator. Seriously, guys, if the bomb didn't kill them, the freaking fall and the blunt force trauma should have. These stunt physics are so bad. And also, not to mention as well, when she had the power, she was able to do those superhuman jumps and kicks. How is she able, by the way, to do that jumping kick to the Axeman when she didn't have the T-virus in her? Consistency, Paul W.S. Anderson. You should know that considering you wrote the big twist at the end of the final chapter, which I haven't forgot about. By the way, stay tuned for that. The next thing that I must talk about are those VFX. Oh my god. This movie's budget was 60 million. 60 million. Where'd the VFX budget go to? Where'd it go to? Seriously, did it go into the making of the sets? Seriously. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who saw in the theaters like me in 3D, those 3D effects, oh my god. The 3D gimmick was overused as movie. This movie is boring. It took me, and I'm not even joking when I say this with you all, 2 attempts to get through this movie. The second attempt was literally the night before I started recording this, and I struggled to stay awake so many times to watch this movie. Right when I got to the final 20 minutes, I just thought, 20 minutes, okay. Come on. Let's get through it. Let's get through it. Let's get through it. Another thing that I must talk about is the bland, and I mean the bland cinematography of this movie. Oh my god, I need to talk about this really quick. For those of you like me that saw this movie in the theaters or saw the trailers for this movie will all know that during the trailers, they advertised this movie was shot with the same system, the same cameras that James Cameron and Vincent, I believe, Pace used for Avatar. They literally have this advertisement in the trailers. They gloated. I mean, they gloated about using that camera system, but did it do them any good? I don't even know what the hell that was. No, it didn't do them any good. The next thing I must talk about when it comes to this movie, the overuse, and that's an understatement, by the way, the overuse, the overkill of slow-mo. This movie, guys, has so much slow motion that I swear to God to you guys, if you cut out all the slow-mo, this movie could have probably have been like, what? A little over an hour, maybe like an hour and 10 minutes because there is that much slow motion. It drove me crazy at one point. Like, guys, no joke. The amount of slow motion in this movie is so overkill that I honestly grew bored of the slow-mo. Like, that is how overused it is. In particular, the Axeman fight. Did that fight really need to be pretty much all in slow-mo? And I might as well bring up this part once again, and that is the final fight sequence between Chris, Claire Redfield, and Albert Wesker. The attempt to recreate that fight here is not only terribly recreated, but it is laughably bad. I don't know how they thought that this worked. 'Cause man, this is terrible. And the final bit of this movie leads into retribution. So overall, Resident Evil Afterlife is yet another terrible installment of the Resident Evil film franchise, and unfortunately, it only gets worse and even worse from here on out. All in all, I'm gonna give Resident Evil Afterlife a 0 out of 5. This movie, do not waste your time, guys. You are better off playing one of the games once again. Do not waste your time. It is so bad. And that, guys, is going to wrap it up for my review of Resident Evil Afterlife, my first review of Halloween Horror Reviews 2024. I hope you all enjoyed it. If so, press the like button, or if you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. If you guys want to see my previous 2 videos, please click right there or right there. And of course, until my next installment of Halloween Horror Reviews 2024, I'll see you all next time.